So
that
dawn
was
in earnest breaks.
Mm.
And the sun rises, and we see there are a couple of people resting still. Farron and Morella and Aelin and Kree probably. Hannibal, it's probably you've probably like completed your task, and you're like, okay, well now I might as well get a little bit of sleep, and you're resting too. But Arkady, you probably went to sleep fairly early after the whole situation, so you're up a bit earlier than the rest of the people. What are your plans for the day now? The army will probably be staying here just to kind of collect itself and also harvest the remainder of the supplies from Middleweg before they travel on to the next town. So you have a bit of time in the morning where everything's kind of on halt while all of that is going on to perform some actions. Is there anything specific that you wanted to do, or wanted to go talk with anybody specific, or help coordinate anything specific? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no.
Sorry, yeah, I am in rough shape and having a hard time thinking about stuff.
No,
I
it's
am not in
totally
Arkady mode.
It's totally okay, I understand. You did state that you have been dying, so I totally get it. I think that that one thing that does happen is after you've woken up and maybe like taken your breakfast, you're approached by your two spear maidens, Kira and Malia. They kind of like approach you, and you can see they're still like they've cleaned off from the battle the night before, and you can see there are some minor injuries. Like, you know, maybe some of them have like a burn on their calf, or like their arm is bandaged from where like a little claw got a hold of it or whatever. But they're no worse for the wear. And as they approach you, Kira, the halfling, maybe you're sitting at a desk reading or whatever, and she comes over and she kind of like puts her hand on the table kind of roughly and is looking right at you, but hasn't said anything yet.
You bring news or you bring concern?
I do not think it was fair what you did last night.
You may have to explain further. You disapprove of the directions taken?
I disapprove of having to follow orders from one who I am supposed to protect to not protect them.
And yet it speaks highly of your loyalty that you do so anyway. We are largely extent of Kislev's presence in this army.
Jackson.
My life may be valuable, and your concern for it is appropriate and does honor to your station, but I can trust you with the things that I will not trust any other. You understand this?
Yeah, and you can see that, like, she's not one to mince words very well. But she kind of, like, she seems a little bit conflicted in the fact that she's not able to perform her job that she was given, but also her job that she was given kind of is to listen to you as well, and you outrank her, and also you've paid her a great compliment by saying that. And so, like, there's that whole range of emotions between outrage and pride that kind of flash across her face in forms. And eventually, I think Malia comes up and sets a hand on the shoulder of her spear sister, and she says, Kira, it is okay. The ambassador is only doing what is best for us. We know that he, try as we might, can move more silently than with the two of us in tow. Perhaps this is for the best. There are other ways we can protect him. And she kind of, like, looks offended almost as if Malia had slapped her across the face. And then she kind of hangs her head in shame a little bit, and she says, my apologies, Ambassador. I did not mean to speak out of turn. I understand that you are only doing what is best for us and Kislev.
No apology is needed. I assure you I will not send you away without cause.
Yeah, and so I think that Malia kind of, like, guides Kira out of the tent, and kind of to go do whatever they've been doing recently. leaving you in your silence. And so, by this time, Aelin and Hannibal and everybody else has begun waking up. And so, Aelin, you're woken up. You can see Daniela is not resting in her bed. She is resting kind of... she's, like, in a chair, like, leaned up against a tent with her hands, like, folded in front of her. And you can tell she's asleep, but you can also tell that she's not really resting. And probably, like, as soon as you kind of open your eyes and kind of start to move around, you can see her kind of lean forward and look. She's got big black bags under her eyes from not getting very much sleep at all.
Daniela, you really must rest. I really am fine. I can take care of myself.
I think Daniela kind of, perhaps a bit more harshly than she intends, probably says, "That is yet to be seen." And, like, kind of, like, stands up and, like, stretches up, and you can hear, like, the creaking, and she groans. Well, shall we get started?
I'm already kind of, like, making my way out of the tent.
Yeah, totally. And as you kind of make your way out of the tent, you see that there's a group of the villagers from Middleweg that are kind of, like, huddled together, not too far from your tent, from the entrance. And when you kind of, like, emerge from it after you comb your hair back and put decent set of new, I don't know, scrubs on, whatever you're wearing to assist people with these days.
I assume they're robes, but...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. And Daniela kind of comes out, she slept in her armor, right? So, like, she's probably smelling quite ripe underneath of it. But she doesn't care. This is the Middle Ages, basically. No one cares. So, as you guys emerge from the tent, you can see, like, group kind of, like, they see you, and, like, the huddled whispers, like, stop, and you can see they kind of part ways, and you can see that there's a woman, and she's carrying, like, a child, like, that's wrapped in a length of cloth, but, like, secured against her chest. And you can see she's also, in one hand she has, like, a bucket filled with water, and in the other hand she has, like a pitchfork, basically. Or no, it's actually probably like a hand scythe. And as she walks up, she approaches you, and when she gets to in front of you, she kneels on one knee, and she bows her head down, and she says, We have come to serve, my lady."
I think that Aelin kind of, like, looks around at the people and immediately kneels down, so she's at the same eye level as the woman who has kneeled and started to bow, and she just says, "There's no need for that. Simply, what do you think you can do to serve?"
I think that she says, "Whatever you will it, my lady. I do not have many skills, but I am strong of arm, and I know the land. I can provide help to people here, or perhaps fight. It is for you to say."
Please rise. And I think she, like, holds her elbow as she
guides her
up
to her feet.
Yeah. And I think that as Aelin's saying this, I think she goes to take the child from her.
Yeah, the child's, like, swaddled against her chest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that she goes to do that, and I think she kind of starts to coo softly at the baby to try to, like, cheer the baby up.
Yeah, the baby's, like, kind of resting and kind of, like, squints eyes as it kind of comes into the sun. And maybe, like, reaches out a little tiny baby hand when you begin to coo, and maybe smiles or gives a giggle of some sort.
Yeah, and I think as she's looking at the baby, not looking at the woman, I think she just says, "Sister, please, being a good mother to this baby is all you need to do."
Yeah, and I think that she looks confused for a moment, and she says, Yes, perhaps caring for the children. Perhaps that is my place. Thank you. and she, like, when you proffer the baby back and she swaddles it again, and she kind of, like, heads off, and then another, probably a young boy, maybe 14 or so, comes to you, and he says, and what will I do, my lady? And you can see they've kind of formed a queue, maybe about 15 people, to receive your orders.
Yeah, so I think Aelin does one of those things where she kind of, like, tilts to the side and looks down the...
Yeah, sure. We see the line of people, and then we see Aelin's head just poke out from the side of it. Yeah,
all anime style and everything. And I think she kind of walks to the side of them, and so she's no longer, like, the head of the line anymore.
Sure.
And so that they can all hear her and see her. And I think she just says, brothers, sisters, if you really would like to help, come with me. And I think she starts to walk towards the the current status of where all of the hospital supplies are.
Yeah. The tent that is kind of haphazardly thrown together.
That is like, here's where we're storing things.
Yeah. People, right? Those things are people. Here's where we're storing people. Yeah. And maybe as you're walking, you glance at Daniela, who's just, like, in a fit of silent laughter at this whole situation. And she probably catches up with you when, like, as you're traveling over there. It's not far. And she probably, like, bends down and whispers in your ear. She's like, you know this will not work, right?
She's like, shoos her off, and she keeps walking with the determination forward.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, and Daniela kind of just, like, steps to the side and laughs. And you arrive at the hospital tent where you've been trying desperately to get some organization here. And it's no better than when you started. There are people who are kind of milling about and running to and fro, and there's a lot of injured now, and, people are trying to, like, change bandages, and there's probably, like, that sound of like, people in pain, right? Like, kind of moaning or groaning throughout the tents from the recent burns, and severely understaffed for this morning, as is the usual. And so when you arrive there, one of the nurses, essentially, that you've taken on, she runs up and she says, my lady, yes, are you here for an inspection, or to see where we and she kind of, like, sputters off.
She goes, no, an inspection, of course not. But if you see behind me, I've brought some reinforcements. It seems like you all have been complaining about not having enough help. Well, here they are. Each of you. You can take one. Whatever you need help with, they can help. Whether it's cut bandages, and then she starts, like, listing off things that they can help with.
And so we see she kind of pokes her head around you slowly to look at the crowd of villagers. And she comes back and she, like, takes a big gulp. We see her, like, swallow, and she says, well, yes, I suppose anything is better than nothing. We'll put them to work right away. And you see her kind of, like, turn and look around and, like, clap her hands for some other people to come up, and they begin dispersing the need. And then just, like, as they're walking past you, just like, my lady, etc. But one of them says something that is interesting. What languages do you know?
I actually can't remember. Hold on a second. I know Common, one I'd like to keep secret.
I know that one.
Halfling is the only other language.
Halfling is the other one? Okay. So, you hear a word said, and it's indistinguishable who said it, because there's just a crowd of people pushing past you. It's the equivalence of the word, what would be a good equivalent? I'm trying to think of the word that I would use.
Khaleesi? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, basically. So somebody essentially in the crowd of people walking by you calls you my goddess, essentially. And again, you like, it catches you off guard because everybody else is, there's a lot of people talking and loud inside of the tents. And you turn and you look and nobody's looking at you directly. Nobody appears to be saying anything out of the ordinary. And it's kind of like a weird, almost ethereal, out-of-body experience, basically. But you recognize the language.
Yeah, I think that kind of unsettles Aelin quite a bit. Mainly because she has, in many ways, tried to avoid putting herself on any sort of pedestal, and for someone to call her such, in her mind, a powerful term, it sets her up to be very uneasy.
Yeah, so maybe you kind of like leave the tent with Daniela, and Daniela's still kind of like in a fit of giggles almost, but like you've got like, a concerned look on your face or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that I would look kind of distracted. Whereas before I looked very determined and like I knew exactly what my plan was, all of a sudden I kind of seem distracted. Yeah,
and I think that Daniela obviously picks up on that. She's, perhaps your closest friend, I don't know. And she laughs and she says, she kind of like puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Oh, I'm not making fun. I know it'll all work out. Don't take it too seriously, Aelin."
Yeah, I think Aelin turns to her and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, were you speaking?"
Yeah, and I think she just shakes her head and she's like, "So rude in the mornings, Aelin. Perhaps it is because you have not had breakfast. Come." And she kind of like, she puts an arm, she like kind of puts an arm around you and like pulls you close and like frog marches you over to tables because she knows that if she doesn't, you're going to break away and find something else to do.
True.
So, Hannibal. You wake up in the morning, you've been cleaned off, prestidigitation, all your clothes and the table and whatever, and you wake up eventually and you can see that like John is kind of like slumped over, leaning against one of the poles in the tent, like snoring loudly. And you can see at the desk now that all the papers and books have been replaced. You can see Robert is sitting there, and he's got like a little like monocle glass, and he's kind of like looking over some notes that he's taken like very intricately. And when you kind of like stir and get up, he kind of like raises an eyebrow and looks at you and he says, "Ah, you're awake. It's good.
What's up?"
"We have business to discuss."
Alright. Hell stretches, pops a couple of bones.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
He goes, "I understand that you were looking for one of these creatures you encountered."
Ah, yes, the Explodos, or whatever they're called.
"Yes, well, as you know, the Bright Order specializes in fire magics. I think I may have identified what they were, or at least what they are derivative of."
Really?
Yeah, and he says, "Here, look at this." And he like hands you a journal. It's clearly like an old like handwritten journal that has kind of like crusty, dry pages, but it's pretty sturdy. And he's got it open to a page, and you can see there's kind of a rough drawing of this small goblinish figure that does look vaguely like what you saw. Now, what languages do you... Oh, you can read all languages. Never mind. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
So, since you can read all languages, you realize that you might know Elven anyway, but it is in Elvish. It's written in Elvish.
I actually speak Sylvan, so that...
Oh, so that's actually different, yeah. But you still recognize it. You can,
they're kind of...
Yeah, it's basically the language of nature versus the language that the elves speak.
Yeah.
They're somewhat similar. So as you're kind of like perusing through that, you realize it's written in Elvish, but you can read any language, so that's advantageous to you. And it names these creatures Magmin.
Let's say that out loud. Magmin.
Yeah, and you see Robert kind of nods, And you begin reading up on these creatures, and you come to find out that they're not particularly intelligent or even really sentient beings. They have to be created via magic from basically inside the heart of a volcano. So they're not all that common either. Because there has to be...
There was a fuck ton of them, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of them. There's a whole hell of a lot of them.
Okay.
Which is probably because of two reasons. Either somebody's been taking their time making these things, right? They're essentially like a lower level form of golem, basically, is a way to look at it.
Okay.
They are either somebody spent a lot of time making these, or there are a lot of people making these, right? Because having this many in one place is quite odd. You also know that it is sometimes possible for them to reconstitute themselves after a certain amount of days. Depending on the level of magic that was used to create them and in the method in which they were destroyed.
Oh, fuck. I say that out loud. I go, do you mind if I borrow this?
Yeah, he kind of like waves a hand and, the go-ahead motion.
All right, I rush out, because this is something that needs to be taken care of immediately.
Yep, absolutely.
John, get your ass up!
Yeah, and you're like out of the tent, and he kind of like, we see like him like kind of wake up and look around, and we see Robert just like shake his head, and he sets his monocle down, and he says, he went that way. And John like kind of like gathers up his things and like puts on a cloak, because it's still kind of damp and steamy outside because all the rain overnight. And he trots along after you.
So yeah, I'm going to tell probably one of the high people. I'm gonna tell Cahill.
Yeah,
I'm
you're gonna go find Cahill.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, we need to get down there now. And
yeah, so
I need to take a group of knights with me. Get down there now. Collect the corpses.
Yeah, so you're so you run over to like the head tent, right? And when you get outside, the guards recognize you and recognize that you're in a hurry, and so they let you pass. And John, trundles in after you, and you can see Cahill and Lord Groundberg are sitting there, and they're having a discussion. You kind of like burst in, and Cahill looks annoyed until he recognizes you, and he says, he kind of is like, what is this? And then he like looks and he's like, Hannibal D. Solomon, thank you for coming in. I was wondering when I would see you. What is it? What is on your mind?
Yeah. Big problem. You know those things we fought last night, the little explodey fire dudes?
Yes, I do. I remember them quite vividly.
Turns out they can revive themselves. I need to take a couple nights and go down there and collect them immediately.
Yeah, and so I think he kind of like nods his head and he says, "Yes, this is most disturbing."
Yeah, so I basically say I need to get down there immediately. I need to collect their corpses so that we can pretty much prevent what's going to happen.
Yeah, so there's not corpses, right?
There's magma, isn't there?
Yeah, and maybe that might be rocks by now, right? Like it's kind of hard to tell. But he authorizes you to take a couple of nights. And if you read further in the book, by the way, it does say that one of the most common ways to kind of deal with it is to consecrate the area.
Okay, I go to Aelin.
Yeah, so you secure a couple of nights just in case, like for protection, right? Just in case anything has happened.
Yeah.
And then you rush over to Aelin, you're sitting down for breakfast, and you just got like a couple of bites in your mouth, and you're enjoying yourself, and Daniela's sitting there, also that, and Hannibal appears in front of you.
Sup? I'm here.
Oh, good morning, Hannibal.
Not now!
Oh, okay.
We have a mission to do. I need you to come with me.
Oh, right now?
Rest right now.
Oh, okay. Can you elaborate? Can you tell me what's going on?
You know those things we fought last night?
I did not fight anything, no.
Hannibal kind of stops for a second. Wonders, man, alright. Whatever, the fire, the magmas.
Oh yes, those wretched things. Yes, what about them?
Yeah, they can revive themselves. We need to get down there now and stop that.
Do you know how?
Can you consecrate an area?
Question, can I consecrate an area?
So that is almost traditionally a paladin thing. And so I think Daniela kind of like, you hear her sigh heavily, and she kind of like stands up from the table and says, I will go. You stay.
Alright, come on, let's go.
Yeah, and Daniela goes to retrieve her horse and all of that.
There's also something else I want to do while I'm down there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to investigate. I want to figure out what these things were doing there.
Sure, absolutely. So you and probably a contingent of 10 or so, no better than guardsmen on horseback, right? Because all the knights are technically with Morella.
Another thing. Can I possibly use to detect magic when I get down there to find things that are still active?
Sure, yeah, you can cast it as a ritual. That's no problem.
Yeah.
So you get down there, and you begin explaining, like, we need to consecrate the grounds where they all died, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Except for one. I want to try to bring one back alive.
Well, so remember, there's not really, like, evidence of them. Like, it's not like you can collect samples or anything. Like, the magma that exploded is probably like pebbles now, right? Like,
okay.
It'd be hard to discern it from the regular rock around, but the area is charred and blackened, right, from all of these occurrences. So you can still kind of see where the battle happened, right, and where these things died, but only because it's like a charred and blackened, ruin, where they sprayed magma everywhere, right? There's not really like a physical form, but it can, because magic, because it allows us to do whatever the hell we want, they can reconstitute from something or become something else.
Okay.
So Daniela kind of like rolls up her sleeves and it's like, this is going to take a while, but we will get it done.
Alright, in the meantime, I'm going to go check some things. And then I head off to where the people were kept.
Yeah, so you head off to the main part of the town. Sure, so what are you looking for specifically?
I'm going to investigate around, because one of the things I remember was that the fire was specifically set in ways that kind of made a circle, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the townsfolk had all been gathered in the middle, and there was a circle of... you didn't actually see this, but you were probably told this by Arkady or Aelin or somebody. But there was a circle of these dudes, like, basically blocking the villagers in. Whether or not that was particularly important or not, who knows, but...
I'm going to investigate that. I'm going to investigate the houses around the center. I'm going to also investigate the center itself.
Okay, sure. But is there anything specific you're looking for? I mean, I know you said you have Detect Magic on, obviously.
Magic markings, some type of markings, anything that looks out of the ordinary.
Sure. Roll me an investigation check.
I'm going to use Tides of Chaos.
Okay.
Tides of Chaos.
24 is not bad. So you begin walking around. You can see, like, you begin to see signs of the skirmish that Arkady had over here with these creatures, where, like, he slayed some of them as they ran down the alleyway. You could see the damage from the chain guy when he became a whirlwind of destruction and began, like, pulling down buildings and stuff around. And you have Detect Magic running as well, and as you kind of scope the area or scan the area, you actually don't pick up anything particularly interesting about the fact that they were all here, except for the one point of this does seem to be the geographical center of the village itself. So perhaps it was easier for them to gather everybody up here, or perhaps there was something that was going to occur later on. But it appears whatever was going to happen was stopped in time before anything was going to happen to the villagers. And you don't find any markings or anything like that around.
Geographic center, does that, like, that means like the center of the village?
Yeah, exactly. It is the dead middle of the village. It means the village is probably first of all the oldest part of the village, and it was probably built around some source of villages in these days are typically built around some source of water, right? So like there's probably a well sitting in the middle of the village.
Okay, in that case, next I'm going to check the outskirts.
Okay, so you can do like a spiral pattern all the way out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you use that 24 because it's a good roll.
Yay.
So as you begin to spiral outward, you see that there is less and less sign of the creatures, because wherever they walk, they leave like these little burned footprints, right? And so you see less and less destruction and damage the further from the center you get out.
Do I see a place where they came from?
So I think that, interestingly enough, and it's a little hard to decipher, but you rolled a 24, so that's good. As you get to the edge of the village, the only thing you can really see is where the battle took place, which is right outside the village, where, you know, all the damage and destruction of hundreds of people clashing together. And when they scattered from the area, you can see that running off into the woods. Maybe they've trampled where they came out of the woods, but it's a little indiscernible even with a 24 from that. So I would say you don't have a clear idea where they came from.
That's troubling. But I'll keep it to myself for now until I get with something more concrete.
Okay.
Alright.
Cool.
Notes. I'll go to question the village later to see like what kind of things they seem to be doing. If they weren't afraid to kill them, for instance, or if they were just hurting them.
Cool, yeah. I think that's definitely a thing that can happen. But I want to flash over to Morella real quick. So Morella, Farron you guys wake up in the morning, and Sir Bryce probably greets you with perhaps some tea and biscuits, and he says to you, bless you.
Bless you.
Hey,
He says to you, Merle, he says, Lady Fairheart, it is good to see you awake. I pray that your rest was fitful.
Yeah, what we see is actually Merle awake, leaning over what can only be deterred as like a desk or a hard surface, and she is writing. And when she looks back, and she's like, I suppose, and then continues writing again.
Yeah, he's like, this is good. And he kind of
Farron.
Yeah, Farron appears from the shadows where he was obviously sitting.
Yeah, and she just says, do take the drink and food and set it aside. Thank you. And then goes back to writing.
Yeah, I think, like, Sir Bryce was, like, halfway motioning, like, walking over to the table, and Farron, like, comes up, and he, like, they have this moment where he just shakes his head and kind of rolls his eyes at Sir Bryce, and Sir Bryce kind of, like, his brow kind of furrows, and he just shrugs, and sets the tea down, and Sir Bryce kind of goes, and you can see he's in his armor still. He obviously put it back on, and he's got his longsword at his hip. And he kind of like leans, crosses his arms and leans his shoulder against like a pillar in the room, and he says, "So, Fairheart, that is the name of the Count Fairheart, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Resides over at Talabheim.
Yes.
You are a fair way from home, my lady."
Home is the Empire for me, not just Talabheim.
Yeah, I think he kind of smiles with that roguish grin again, and he says, yes. Yes, indeed. A woman of the people.
I suppose.
He says, well, tell me, Lady Fairheart, what is the plan for this campaign you will be running on Middenheim?
She kind of like continues writing for a bit before stopping, and then puts down the quill, and then turns around, and she's like, "To capture Mindenheim back."
I see. And give it to whom?
Well, it belongs to the Empire.
As much is true, yes. Disturbing rumors have come from the north as of late.
Such as?
Well, that the White Wolf is dead. This is
It
the
was
real
the first
basis
I've
for
heard
me.
of it.
Well, it is, I would not say common knowledge, but people fleeing from that area spoke of it.
I
You
see.
do know the stories of the White Wolf, do you not?
Can I make a history roll to
You
see how
absolutely
much I know?
can make a history roll.
Wait, hold on. The White Wolf. That sounds familiar.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, it should.
Holy
Nice. There you go,
Oh
25.
wait, I remember who it is.
Yeah, so the White Wolf is the traditional name for the count and lord that resides over Mindenheim. If we look at our little handout here, we can see that it's also known as the City of the White Wolf, because almost exclusively the priests there and priestesses and paladins all worship Ulrich instead of Sigmar. Sigmar actually doesn't have a very big place in the city of Mindenheim, and they're kind of looked down upon it for that. But they maintain a lot of power in the Empire in the fact that their warriors are probably designed as, deigned as one of the most powerful foot soldiers in the entire Empire. They also have tactics that are unique in the fact that they are very well... They train animals to fight with them quite a lot. Also, their population is very diverse, unlike a lot of cities in the Empire. They have a lot of dwarven and elven citizens that live there. And the importance of the White Wolf specifically is that unlike a lot of the unlike the way that the rulers work in a lot of the other big cities, Telebheim is a small exception, but it's a monarchalist society. So there is one single ruling power. There's not a council or anything like that. There is just the leader of Mindenheim, and that's the all-biting power that resides there. Some even say that the White Wolf, or the ruler of Mindenheim, has more control over their people than even the Emperor, because the Emperor can be ignored basically by the Elector Counts should he choose. And this particular White Wolf is a warrior of great renown by the name of Gustav Ulrichson. And yes, he does derive his name from the deity himself. And that is Gustav Ulrichson. And the Ulrichsons have been basically in power in Mindenheim for as long as anyone can remember. And Gustav specifically is credited with being one of the greatest warriors among them. And so simply the fact that he is dead, or possibly dead, is something of concern. But it's also known that Gustav was particularly brash when it comes to war and fighting in general. He would have been the one that led from the front as opposed to directed from the back. So it could reasonably have been assumed that perhaps his pride got the better of him in this instance. But one specific story about Gustav is that there was there was a Norseman raid on some of the northern villages, and it happened to be while Gustav was traveling with a small retinue, just kind of doing the rounds of his empire, or his kingdom, right? Like his area. And they said he challenged like the head Norseman to a duel and won it fairly, and then was charged by the Norsemen's allies who have no honor, right? When their leader fell, and said that the men tried to jump in and he waved them off, and ended up killing all 20 of the raging barbarians by himself without taking so much as a scratch. That's kind of like the mythological story about him. And so he actually earned another name from the elves. They called him the Singing Blade. And traditionally, a lot of the people in Middenheim use like large axes as their weapons and hammers. But the elves had given him a name, Singing Blade, because they say the music that his axe made as it cuts through armor of his enemies makes like a beautiful tone of music. So that is the story that you know of Gustav Ulriksson.
Yeah, and she doesn't seem deterred by this, and she's like, well, perhaps he fought Anders.
Yeah, and I think Sir Bryce kind of like, he nods and he says, yes, I have heard that rumor too, that Anders has returned, but not as the hero
Savior
we have known him to be. That
Yes.
he leads this army of demons and undead beasts. What do you believe, Lady Fairheart?
He must be stopped.
I see.
will make sure of it.
I see. That is such determination from one. I applaud that.
It is not determination.
Oh?
It is just fact.
I see. Well, I assume that the two of you have many preparations to make. I will be on my way. Should you need anything, you can find me at the mayor's house in the center of town. Please let me know if you need anything.
She nods and like is about to go back to writing before looking back. She's like, oh, there is actually one thing.
Yeah, and he's kind of got like his hand on the door, and like he's got it like open a little bit, and he turns his head over his shoulder and he says, yes.
She kind of like looks at the ground, and then we can see that on the ground there's a bunch of crumpled up parchments. I believe I'm running out of paper.
Yeah, I think he chuckles and he says, ha, yes, I'll have a steward bring you some more.
She nods and then turns around and quietly begins writing again.
Yeah, and we see him kind of close the door, and he kind of like, we see him in the sunlight, and he kind of like, he shakes his head, and he probably says, Raka would like her, I think. And he kind of trots off, chuckling to himself.
He knows me.
Well, yeah, you guys met him.
Oh yeah, I did.
I even had the same name for him.
You expect me to remember names?
You guys remember him a lot more often than I do.
Yeah, but this was a name that was from so long ago. So
Very long time ago.
yeah, and we see Morella what she's been writing, and it seems to be of an apology letter of sorts to what can only be assumed as a family member to one of the knights that have fallen.
Got it. Yeah, you're writing individual notices for their next of kin. That's cool. I like that. Cool, yeah, and probably Farron is assisting to some degree with that, perhaps.
I mean, she knows how to write very elegantly well. she's not a dumb girl.
Well, no, it's not about the writing purposes. It's about getting what you're feeling out on the paper, right? Like, it's obvious you're having struggles, right, by having all the crumpled up papers below you.
I think it's more of the fact that she's actually like any slight mess up, she completely redoes it. She's
right, totally.
She's making sure that every letter she writes is a perfected one, as opposed to it being like she's having trouble. She just
So yeah, Farron probably doesn't help directly. He's probably he's mechanically giving you bardic inspirations by just like strumming on his lute every so often, right? Like,
and an occasional giving her a drink when she asks for it, type of thing.
Totally. Cool. So back over to the rest of you, and so there is not a feast as it were prepared, but there is an assembly planned that Cahill has said for all the people that can attend should attend in the center of the encampment to receive like congratulations and to honor people at our first victory, etc., etc. Basically, just a morale, a dog and pony show, right?
Yeah. During that, I'll present Cahill with the head of the dude.
Yeah, and so as it kind of goes down as you would expect. Arkady and Aelin and Kree and Hannibal, you guys are all invited to like join Cahill, like up on the row of lords and ladies that are behind, and like some of the more distinguished guardsmen. There are probably a couple of like just regular guardsmen who are being particularly honored for their valor in the battle that they participated in. And as you guys are up there, he goes to each individually, and he like gives his big long-winded speech, and there's cheers and rousing hurrahs, and he goes to each one of you individually and thanks you, clasping your wrist and shaking your hand and giving you words of encouragement. And when he gets to you, Hannibal, how do you present it to him? Do you just like hold it up, or do you make a speech? Do you say something to the people as you do?
Oh yeah, you wanted a trophy.
Okay, yeah. So you just like hold up the trophy like you wanted this, and Cahill, like, for a moment, like, is taken aback, and then grips the chain and holds it up to the people and, says, and this is the first of many to fall. And he probably, like, he grabs you, Hannibal, and says, and this is the man who helped us slay it. If not for him, this beast may not be dead today. And there's a big long cheer for Hannibal. Woo, yeah, everybody's cheering, yay!
Yeah, Hannibal's uncomfortable. He's used to being more hated in public.
Right, yeah, it's weird for you, right? Like, everybody's like, and you're such a distinguishable look that people will recognize you now as you're, like, just walking through the tents and stuff. Kaylin has that, Cahill, Jesus, I did it again. Cahill has that effect on people, right? Where, like, he's very good at bringing people into the spotlight and getting them recognized. Where am I? I think I'm pulling that from Dragon Age, because it's totally a character from Dragon Age, and maybe that's what I think of every time I go to say his name, but whatever.
Which one? Because now I need to know.
I do think it's someone in the first one, but...
Yeah, it's also in the third one. He's like one of your companions in the third one. He's a Templar.
Is it Colin?
No. Is he also in the third one? Oh, maybe he's not in the third one. Maybe he died. Oh no, okay. Idiot. King Kaelin. Jesus, that's where I'm pulling it from. Every single time.
Oh!
Yeah.
Kaelin.
Yeah, he's not. He's obviously not in the third one, but yeah. King Kaelin. That's where I keep pulling it every single time. Every single time I go to say his name.
Yep. Okay. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's who I'm basically modeling this character after, so that's why it keeps getting confusing for me. But it's also awesome to think that I'm just combining the names.
It's just super meta. That's all it is.
Super hyper meta. So yes, he continues with the speech, and there's a rousing chorus, and there's some there's some wine bottles popped and the drinks start flowing a little bit, but it's perhaps more tame than anything else. More just like a show of, that not all hope is lost, we can have victories, etc., etc. So, he gets to, the festivities kind of disperse, and the group of lords and ladies is kind of left standing up there. And Cahill kind of addresses each, the lords and ladies after everything has kind of occurred, and he says to the group, he says, "Now, we have not heard yet word back from the dearest Lady Fairheart as to how stands Middenstag, but for you here, and you," and he kind of talks to the guards who are sitting up there, he's like, "the new lieutenants that I will be promoting. It is important for you to understand what our goal here is. It is obviously to retake what is the Empire's rightfully, but most importantly, it must be for the people. These villagers that we have saved from this town, we must make sure we take care of them. We must make sure they are attended to. I hear that they are working in the hospital for now. That is correct, Lady Ashriver."
She just nods.
Yeah. And he goes, Good. Keeping them with purpose is good, although perhaps we should identify some who have other skills. Perhaps some blacksmiths or farriers. Perhaps they can improve our way of life in other ways. This is a thing that we must attend to as we progress. And what I can say is, even though this is our first victory, we will have many more, and they will be harder to achieve. I pray that I can have you all at my back when the time comes." And it kind of looks for assurance from the group of you.
I'll look at him.
Yeah, and I think the lords and ladies that are in attendance, Lord Groundberg and all the other members of the council, especially Lady Schwinn, Lady Tolsbeck, they all kind of nod in agreement, and they're like, "Yes."
Yeah, Hannibal does not nod. He just looks.
Yeah, you just kind of stare blankly.
I think that as he says that and people start nodding, I think Aelin stands up, walks towards him, puts her kind of hand on his arm, and just says, "Yes, we will be with you."
Yeah, and I think he gives you a kind of a relieved smile, perhaps a bit friendlier demeanor. He's obviously, he kind of lets down the guise of the lordly figure, and kind of from that action that Aelin takes, and kind of then projects it onto everybody else in attendance, and he says, "And of course, most importantly, friends, I hope that I may call you such by the end of this. Come, let us join in the festivities, at least for a little while. Let the men have their fun before we begin marching them again." And I think he turns to you and he says, "Lady Ashriver, I understand that you have a lot of work to do, but perhaps you will join me." And he kind of offers his arm for you to take.
I take it and I say, "Well, for a little while anyway."
"Very well. Let us proceed." And he kind of leads the troop of lords and ladies, but you guys can choose not to go with him, if you want.
Yeah, no, can I make an insight check to see on that?
See, what are you looking for specifically?
Yeah, well, first, hold on, I forgot to roll for hit dice, I just realized, but I'll do that in a minute. But, there's a whole lot of lords and ladies here.
Mm-hmm.
And he went and danced with the cleric.
You understand that she is also a lady, right? She's actually nobility.
Oh, she is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
the Ashriver
Lady
family is
Ashriver.
actually nobility.
Head of the church.
Yeah, she's also the head of the church, right? So,
I'm kind of a big deal. I'm also beautiful, in case you forgot.
that's true, too. she would be the envy of any man's eye. But you probably didn't get the sense that it was really like that. It seemed more out of place, the fact that Aelin agreed to go not work. That seems the out of place thing here.
Okay, can I make an insight check on that?
Sure. I'll let you make an insight check on that.
I was gonna say it's more like I thought this was important enough to not immediately go back to the hospital. Like that's what
breaking Cahill's facade is nigh impossible, but breaking Aelin's on the other hand is different.
Okay, I want to thank you both for allowing me to check against Aelin.
No problem.
Whatever.
11's not going to be good enough, though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. I think it seems like maybe it seems a bit. Oh, there you go. Maybe it seems a bit inspiring, in fact, that like, hey, maybe we should relax, right? Like, Aelin's gonna relax, so maybe we should relax. Maybe let's go have a good time before there are not enough good times ahead. You know what I mean?
It's funny that you think that.
I'm giving suggestions. So, Arkady, as this kind of proceeds, it's not going to be like a full drawn-out thing, but it's a good opportunity to maybe network a little bit with anything that you would like to do.
Well, by now he's heard about Hannibal's escapades during the day.
Yeah.
And this might be the first chance that he's had to actually talk to Hannibal about that.
Sure, yeah. So you can, as Hannibal, I assume, remains back a little bit. That's a lot of hit dice spent, buddy.
Me. Go to fall.
Why are you so mangled?
He got hit. He got hit pretty hard, actually, a couple times.
Yeah, no, I was down below half.
Yeah.
Fun. I'm pretty full at the moment.
And
did anybody else even get hit?
Nope.
Oh no, it's glorious.
Well, because I went fucking toe to toe with the fucking chain master.
It's true.
No, you did.
Cahill went toe to toe? Question mark.
You were Misty stepped away like a little bit.
I Misty stepped away. I killed it when it was trying to kill me.
I mean, Cahill took a knock.
Cahill took some hits.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. He's supposed to. I'm not.
True. That is a good point. Anyway, so yeah, you're able to like maybe grab his sleeve or whatever and pull him back from the crowd and have a conversation with him, Arkady.
Yeah, so he'll sort of recap what he knows of Hannibal's investigations, given that it was probably a near thing that Arkady wasn't close enough to actually follow him down there. Answer. So you have no idea where these things have been created, yes?
Well, they need to be from a volcano, and to be honest, I am a little bit... There's a specific thing I'm a little bit worried about with all this. Why this place? Those things aren't exactly easy to make.
And in great numbers.
Yeah, and they decided to spend them all to take Middlewick.
How certain are we that was all of them?
Fuck, I don't know. Just can I make like an estimation based on how much fucking manpower could have been made to try to make all this?
I think it's an Arcana roll.
All right, with intelligence this time.
Yeah, with intelligence.
All right.
So, a single entity, it's not one of those things that you have to maintain. It is not necessarily hard in the sense that it's like super high level magic. It just takes a lot of time. You have to mold the creature into being, into existence, right? So it's more time consuming. So for a single person to make as many as you saw, a lifetime perhaps.
Yeah.
But for multiple somebodies, exponentially downward, right?
Yeah, so I would say that it all really depends on how many people of that has magic of that aptitude there are. I can't say for certain, but that was about one person's lifetime's worth.
I am willing to believe that one person would not spend their entire lifetime to create army to be lost in single battle.
Yeah, no, me either. So they got a lot of people. Which probably means they got a lot more.
Heh. Yes. Do you have any idea what use they would have for this single village?
Well, that's what I went down there to investigate. And that couldn't figure it out. So one thing that seems strange is that they either came from the forest or they were already there.
The latter seems unlikely. The former seems as if it would have left wildfire in its wake. Is this not so?
Is it so?
I mean, yeah, that's a reasonable assumption. If they burn everything they touch, it would have been impossible for like hundreds of them to traverse the forest without catching something on fire.
Yeah, so I say that, yeah. Basically, the only reasonable thing is that they obviously got damped in.
Yes, teleportation is difficult in circumstance, yes? Is normally requiring runes, circles, you know these ways.
Mm-hmm. And also for that many was the real problem. Would I know what kind of spell would be able to teleport that many creatures?
So I think that you would know that it is possible, but that it is beyond your capabilities or understanding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely doable, but it would require at least twice my power.
Yeah, and it would also probably require somebody who, like, specialized in that kind of thing. Right?
Yeah,
like,
so I would say it would require a wizard.
So, if perhaps they have this wizard and they have simply teleported fiery horde into village. But if they could do so, why would they not send creatures directly into our camp?
They obviously wanted something with Middleweg. They brought them to the exact center of the village. And would I have had a chance to interview the villagers?
Sure, yeah. And you were gonna ask if
they seemed very keen on keeping them alive.
Yeah, so they specifically, unless the villagers resisted, kept them alive.
Okay, so I say they definitely wanted the villagers alive, which leads me to believe they were probably going to be used in some type of spell.
Horrifying. If not, I am trying to see all possibilities. Could they be brought by underground tunnels or by air carried by winged creatures?
The winged creature seems unlikely, mainly for the fact that these things are pure lava. Underground is a definite possibility, but at the same time, when they ran through the village to get away, why wouldn't they run to the underground portions to get away?
It's true. Yeah.
So I'm probably going to guess that whatever they used to get there was one way.
It's reasonable. If we can find where others are being kept, I would dearly like to see them aflame while they are still within enemy territory.
More importantly, have you heard anything on Morella's crew?
No, were we expecting word?
I thought we were, weren't we?
So technically, yeah. By the end of the day, or no, sorry, by the end of the next day, you were supposed to hear word. You guys were basically supposed to get to Delbers, and then they would meet you.
Okay. So in that case, I rephrased what I said.
But I mean, like, there's other methods of communication, right? Like,
yeah. So
you don't know how Farron and Arkady might be able to communicate, right?
Remind me where Dane is?
Dane's
Dane is
with Hannibal.
Yeah, so I go, do you ask that?
If you want.
Do you?
Where is your fluttering companion?
He's right here. Thanos is on my shoulder and I hit him off.
Yeah, and Dane probably, like, squeaks. He's probably like, I don't flutter.
You're supposed to. That's what sprites do.
Regardless. Yeah. We should see. There must be. I am certain there are other users of magic in this army. Surely some of them must have familiars. We should be establishing stronger lines of contact.
That might be good. Granted, a lot of their familiars are probably not like my familiars.
If they can fly and carry letter is all we need.
Alright. Why don't you, I know the representative of the Amber Order, and then I tell him his name. Robert Fulton. He might be able to help you a lot more in terms of making an established communication base.
Fantastic. What do you intend to do to further investigate village?
There's not much I can do. I want to stay on the lookout for where these things came from. So I'm probably going to go join up with Cray or wherever they were fleeing from and try to find where they were going. These things are autonomous. They were most likely specifically told if they need to flee, go that way. So there's obviously something that way.
Well, if you would have value in additional troops from army, I'm sure I can speak to local nobility who will be only too happy to assist you in preventing their homes and villages from burning to ground.
It'd be desirable, but I would rather be able to move quickly. So, if anything, I would rather just have a small group. I'd like to get Cree to go with me if at all possible, to be honest.
Seems capable and reliable enough. He may be unwilling to leave the bulk of his troop.
Yes, but he was also the only one to follow them out that far.
Yes. Very well. I will speak to nobility and acquire for you small cavalry unit. You find Cree and see if he is willing to follow.
Alright.
Cool. So as you guys break the huddle,
1, 2, 3, Team Umbrella. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And then Hannibal snickers to himself, and he takes out a little pendant with K-Heart's picture. He's like, actually, Team K-Heart.
Yeah, we see the fingers crossed behind his back. I think that's a great place to take our break for the night. So,
Yay! Busting out.
Let's be back at 15 after. We'll take a full 10-minute break. All right? Also, if we could get some more will checks on the break, that'd be swell.
He came online briefly.
Okay, good. All right.
That sounds fake.
See you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, we're going to take a little break. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.